the opportunity and also for giving me the task of for everyone rather for discussing diabetes management in 6 minutes, diabetic retinopathy management. So, ma'am, I'll be sharing some of my videos and my own experiences regarding surgical management of diabetic retinopathy. So, grossly in practice, the indications of surgical intervention are non-resolving vitreous hemorrhage. The classical definition used to be 3 months, but with the advent of better systems, nobody waits till 3 months. It's month and a half, and it totally depends upon the surgeon and the patient's understanding. Then tight, ma'am, submacular, premacular subhyaloid bleeds, tractional detachments which are involving or threatening to involve the macula, combined detachments, and ILM peeling in cases of non-resolving macular edema. This is the investigational therapy. So, ma'am, starting with the most of the cases, these are like subhyaloid hemorrhages. Diabetes, lends us with a beautiful advantage that if the bleed it happens in the subhyaloid space, it achieves quite what we want to do, that it causes a posterior vitreous separation. So in this case, we have removed most of the blood, and there is some blood which is deposited on the retina, which is actually removed with the use of proportional reflux. So these are simple cases, not very challenging. The retina is lasered pre-operatively well, and these are the cases we generally want to operate, and we are happy operating them. Uh, Okay, so this was a case when the patient had a tight subhyaloid bleed, and I actually messed up thinking it would be very simple. So again, if you know that in diabetes the vitreous is very peculiar and something not common as you see in other diseases. It's something called a taut posterior hyaloid. So what I thought that would be a case I would be able to finish it up early. I wasn't able to induce the PVD, kept trying very hard, tried over the lesion, over the disc, and finally, I was able to achieve some separation. But then it came at the cost of, inducing more bleed because there was a neovascularization below, and I had already triggered a bleed, and now the whole scenario looked much worse than it started off pre-operatively. So here you see I am still struggling to lift up the posterior hyaloid, catching it wherever I can near the disc on over the lesion, but wasn't coming up well. So as it progressed, yes, it did happen, but what I was left was with some clots on the macula. I was able to clear it up, but if you see carefully what had happened, I had actually induced a break near a vessel, and which was now bleeding profusely. This is a situation where you have kind of lost the game. You can't laser these lesions. If you try to elevate the bottle height, you will eventually control the bleed, but that comes at the risk of causing an ischemic optic neuropathy. So this was one case where of a tight subhyaloid bleed which I actually missed. The next, these are the two most common done procedures. One is delamination and segmentation, and most of them they are done hand in hand. Now, what does delamination means? Delaminate means to peel off the surfaces. So, if you understand that this is a large neovascular front growing along the arcades, there are two layers. One is of the fibrovascular proliferation, and second is the retina. You have to separate them very gently. You can do it with the forceps, but now with the advent of these low gauge cutters where the tip is very close, the port is very close to the tip, we can actually separate them with the help of the cutter. And you have to remember that when you're separating two tissues, the larger tissue is the one which will be left back, and smaller tissue, the more friable tissue tears off. So you have to be very careful. So after you have separated, now we are cutting in between these two islands. This is one hook from where the fibrovascular proliferation is getting its vascular supply. This is the second. So we are actually cutting and we are creating two separate islands, which is called as segmentation, and we are doing with the help of vitrectomy cutters. So now this was another case of segmentation and delamination. So this is a large front, the fibrovascular front, which is actually the fibrovascular front arising at the disc is actually tenting up the fovea. So I have introduced my cutter between the optic nerve and the fovea, and gently trying to lift it with the help of the cutter, and trying to, it looks kind of when I look back my surgeries in the retrospect, I feel that sometimes I was a little gross in my intervention. So but the only thing I was trying was to not to avoid creating a, macular hole, and at the same time being able to, cut off the traction on the fovea and let it fall back. So eventually I could, and see, I have cut out across the fovea, and there is a this small island of tissue which is now on the fovea, and the rest of it has got fallen back. The fovea has fallen back. So this is the most commonly done step of delamination and segmentation. Now next, coming to end block removal, very popular with surgeons who do not have much of a patience and there's a large tissue. You just hold the proliferation and remove it in total. So this was by one of my teachers who used to say that I will not, I will not be hesitant in creating a break, but I will remove all the traction. So see, he aggressively he pulls up on the fibrovascular proliferation and the posterior hyaloid, and which in turn, makes this tractional detachment become a rhegmatogenous. So you just see there are two breaks that have already formed up here, and another springs up here.
With all due respect, Dr. Sumit, I'm so sorry, but I guess it's time up. If we just
Okay,
want to
wait
have a
for a
simple
minute.
open
I think
interaction.
he can continue, I think, because one speaker is not there, so he can continue for a while.
Okay,
Okay,
ma'am,
we
I'll
have
go back
hardly
in a minute.
5 minutes to go. Okay, fine. You
Okay,
can continue. You can sum up within the next 30 seconds.
I
Hope
think
you
that's
can.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
last
Yes,
now.
yes.
So this is the last, ma'am, that we do sometimes in, patients who have. So this was the patient who had a tractional detachment. So we have cut the fibrovascular front, but what you see is actually there are ILM striae which is pulling traction on the macula, and this arises from the inferior neovascular, the NVE. So these are the patients I consider that you see ILM striae can be, taken up for ILM peeling, and which actually results in the loosening of traction on the macula. So just my last slide is that for those people that normally we put triamcinolone acetonide on the retina with the help of a syringe and a needle. Here what we do is that we suck in the tricot through the cutter and then use a proportional reflux to inject tricot on the retina. This has been described by my friend Dr. Raju, and the same it can be done for dye in ILM staining. So the lessons that I've learned practically are that preoperative anti-VEGF is important as it reduces intraoperative bleed. And diabetic vitrectomies in type 1 diabetics are the toughest, and many of them have to be abundant. And the third is that never lose watch over the optic nerve, especially when you are delaminating or you're doing segmenting. Diabetic disc, they've got very poor perfusion pressure. That has happened that you have done a very good segmentation delamination but lost the optic nerve. Then in those patients, when you have to use a silicone oil
Sum
every
up,
time, so ma'am,
Dr.
always keep
Khanduja.
water.
Sum up,
Yeah.
please, fast.
And
Because we have another speaker.
yeah.
One more.
So the last is that you treat the patient and not the retina. And the surgeries that look great in conferences necessarily don't have a very happy post-op outcome.